We have another movie from Leah Whannell.
Yeah.
Yes.
God, I've been following him for 21 years. I've been a
yeah.
Lee Whannell fan for 21 years, Nick. He can drink.
All right. And, of course, from Invisible Man, he's now doing The Wolf Man. So let's get ahead and get started talking about it.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm getting hairier, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast, a podcast, and now I'm doing written reviews. We'll put the link down below if you want to check those out as well. Kyle and I are members of Minnesota Film Critics Association. Check out that webpage for critics reviews, as well as our last thing to check out, our Patreon. We have some great deals and great content, and of course, an opportunity to give a shout out to you when you pick the movie that we will review in a future episode. Today we're talking about a relatively new movie. It's January Horrors. I love January Horrors.
I don't know if you do.
For one reason. Okay, Wolfman. What's going on as if we didn't know?
So when Blake learns that his long-missing father has been legally declared dead, he ventures off to his childhood home in Oregon with his wife and child to clean things up and close this chapter of his life. Quickly upon arriving, the family is beset upon by a humanoid creature who preys upon them in one horrifying night, all while Blake slowly succumbs to a dangerous transformation caused by the creature.
I'm a little surprised. I would have thought we'd be more grossed out than we did while seeing the movie.
It was funny watching it at our screening because there were people that clearly don't watch as many horror movies as we do that were finding some of those scenes incredibly disturbing. And I thought they were, but not really.
Right, and it felt like for me, and I had a colleague, Dallas is sitting next to me, Dallas Fisher. It did, and I agree with it. It felt like 3 short films in one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I love the setup. I love this whole premise that nature is violent. No matter how safe you're going to be, eventually you're going to encounter violence in some other way.
Yeah.
I do like that kind of theme, and then it mixes and flows into kind of this patriarchal, toxic parenting kind of a thing.
Well, I think that, that's prevalent from the beginning, that opening scene where we're following Blake as a child with his father, played by Sam Yeager, who gets a great scene. I really wish we got to see more of Sam Yeager in the movie.
Right. I thought we were going to have this
opening
kind of like
short film,
Right. I felt like we're going to have something like Prey. We're going to be out in the woods pretty much, and something like this. But
so what you've got there is the father, what sends down to next generation, that generational trauma, and how he's trying to break the cycle. That's an interesting choice. I like the fact that there's a family being slowly pulled in opposite directions. And what I also appreciate is, more often than not, when they do movies about strained relationships, one of them, usually the wife, is the asshole. Like, it's usually I'm too busy for my job, and then the guy has to try and make up for that, and that's not the case here. They're both realistic people who are trying to find their way back to each other, which I appreciated.
Okay, so it's kind of a loose thread of a theme and tones. They really want to sell it with the sound. I think sound is probably one of the best things about the movie.
Yeah, I noticed
sound of
it.
especially the sound of the transformations. One of the things it does really well is the physical transformations of the point of view of when you turn into a wolf man. I kind of enjoy the perception that you see the world around. What's kind of missing for me is the mental transformation. Is there a human kind of a thing to it? The motivations are lost. Is there any kind of a human aspect of him when he goes full wolf man?
Well, yeah, and quick going back to that sound that you mentioned, it's not just the transformations, but it's like if you've ever been camping or out in the wilderness at like 3, 4 in the morning,
amplifies.
You can hear all of that wildlife going on. Yeah. You heard that often throughout the film. And you're right, the transformation itself, it's not a full... The key distinction here is this is not a werewolf movie. This is a wolf man movie. This is a humanoid bipedal creature, and that's a big deal for people that are fans of like the original 1941 film. The transformation, I really appreciated seeing it through his eyes, and I do think there's a bit of a mental change because in the way he's not understanding what they're saying anymore, and specifically near the end of the film when we see things from his perspective, his wife's child and face are starting to distort. He can't recognize them anymore. So it's there, but I do wish it was a little bit more. And the same thing with the transformation itself. I like that it actually ended up looking very wolfish at the end. I wish it had gone a bit further, like a bit more, extended into it. Not fully like, hairy man running around, but just a bit more of the wolf man.
Yes, because it teases you a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then the revelation's like backlighting.
Yeah.
It flushed it out a little bit. And like I said, the mental aspect is kind of frustrating for me. Also, we don't get a lot of action sequence. I know we underdo the family, the dynamic of the family in the transition of is he going to be a protector or an attacker of his family. And I think I'm not spawning it. If you've seen the trailer, you understand what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that I think they want to investigate that as he being the patriarch. Is he going to be the threat to the family or a defense? I don't, the ending kind of frustrates me.
I think that's the frustrating part for me is that you can see this film's influences on its sleeves. Specifically, I mean, I didn't need to see an interview with Lee Winnell saying he was inspired by The Fly to know that he was inspired by The Fly. It's very prevalent, specifically in the direction the film takes in the back half. It specifically feels like The Fly. It's just that there wasn't that much that was exciting to the movie. I could have paused after that first scene and leaned over to my wife who was with me and told her every scene that would follow and been mostly right. And I didn't watch the trailer for this movie.
Right. Once you get locked in the vehicle and then you're doing what, Cujo again?
Yeah. And so I just
like
kind of paint by numbers, wash, rinse, repeat the whole time, which is so frustrating for me because I've followed Lee Winnell for really so long, and I feel like that this is just, it feels like it's missing the, I don't want to say the bite. It's missing the bite. It is missing some of the, action that he's known for putting together.
Right. And the big reveal is not an all-overall surprise. I think 90% of the audience was coming.
Yeah. And I don't think that felt like a reveal that was like a twist. That felt like something where it's like we all knew, and I think he knew as a director. It works. It works for what they're trying to tell with the story, though. That's what comes down to the film. This is a film I overall recommend. I liked, but I just really felt like I would love. And I kind of washed myself of all anticipation because Wolfman is one of my favorite Universal Monsters movies, but I know that this is not going to be that.
I would like to see go full animalistic. The whole thing of the dynamic of Wolverine is his balance of when it's time to go animalistic, when you go animal, and when time to go human. And that's the whole crux of Wolverine. Are you going to be an animal now, or are you going to be a human? Put that in the movie. Yeah. It's time to go animal, or am I going to go full animal? I have no trace of a human, and I think they wanted all of it together.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a...
I think what you have here, too, then, is, the Wolfman was 1941. We had the 2010 remake, which is a very by-the-books remake of that film. People criticized it was too familiar because it was too much like the 41 film. I would argue that this 2025 film is too familiar as well, just not to the Wolfman.
Not to the familiar. Some other movies that we just cited,
Yeah, and unfortunately, those other movies were the ones that were like the big, showy movies, that this one just kind of feels like it's copying a bit too much.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think of our assessment of The Wolfman? Of course, you probably have seen it already. Leave a comment down below. Keep the conversation going.
Yeah, do you want to see this Wolfman team up with the Invisible Man? I mean, we could still get that dark universe. I don't know how it would play out, though.
So diabolical, though. I could see some decency with it.
There'd be a good fight going on there, man. We could have that. Yeah. Let us know your thoughts on the film. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Kyle and Nick on Film. You can check out my written review of Wolfman over on goatfilmreviews.com, and you can also find over there some brand new 2025 releases on that website now.
Of course, you can check out my written reviews now. I'm written reviews at St. Paul Filmcast Reviews, and you can check out my show at the St. Paul Filmcast anywhere you find podcasts. And go out and howl at the moon.